Hi, Christopher.
Hi.
So I am very sensitive with these things. My parents are from Bali, so it's known as the island of the gods and demons. So
Sure.
a lot of stuff when I was there, and with my two boys, I've noticed that they're also sensitive. They've seen things, they've felt things. So because we can't call the Ghostbusters, what do you suggest? Dealing with presence like sage. I mean, we sage the house for certain energies. Do you talk to it? I've heard you put a calendar, so if there is a presence to see, like, hey, it's 2022, so they know, hey, they don't belong here anymore. So, or do you ignore them? How do we go about that?
Oh, that's a difficult question because the answer is very broad. I have found that many of the truths that we hold to that people have had, even culturally, whether it be culturally or, I mean, connected to religious beliefs, different parts of the world, they hold true to them, but they don't actually, the truths regarding the phenomena doesn't actually align. For example, sage and other methods of cleansing for lack of a better word, bad energy, does just the opposite. There are some beliefs, ancient archaic cult beliefs in practitioners who say elements of sage and stuff like that actually attracts entities that are dark, which is totally counter to other beliefs. And I think the thing you have to think about is if these phenomena exist, they're not held contained within borders of different countries and different cultures. So sometimes you're going to encounter a phenomena which follows an entirely different belief system or criteria that's not even of that realm. I can give you one example. There was a South Pacific island I was at for a phenomenon. The archdiocese had been doing an exorcism that had gone on for like 3 or 4 weeks. And the poor subject at that point, they had almost practically chained them to inside of a clearing of a forest because it had been ripping sticks and plants out of the ground. It had been gouging and mutilating itself. And everyone was trying to understand why this thing is doing this. And the exorcism wasn't working until finally, when they brought me in to assess it, I wanted to try an entirely different approach. And I brought in somebody who's commonly referred to as a clever man from the Australian Aboriginal Indigenous belief system. And as soon as he got there, an entirely different interpretation took place. And within 5 to 10 minutes, the person was relieved of what had happened to them. And what we took away from that was that there's a matter of misinterpretation of these phenomena. And while the Roman Catholic exorcist was interpreting this person to be possessed by a demon, the thinking was that he was actually possessed by an animal, like a jaguar of some sort, a cat. And if you take any cat and you put a cage around it, it's going to want to rip away. It's not meaning to be evil or malevolent. It's just trying to get out. So this thing was trapped in a person trying to get out, and all it needed was somebody to sort of look at it with a different perspective, try to understand that perspective, and then they were able to let the thing go. So misperceptions, misinterpretations is so common with these phenomena. It's just like in everyday life, especially with masks on, everyone's wearing masks, and it's so easy to misinterpret if someone's smiling or if they're frowning or if they're happy. The same thing happens with a lot of these phenomena.